Mission at Women Who Code is to empower diverse women to excel in their technology careers. And our vision is a tech industry where diverse women and historically excluded people thrive at every level. All of our events adhere to the code of conduct. So Women Who Code is an inclusive community dedicated to empowering experience for everyone who participates in or supports our community, regardless of gender, gender identity and expression, sexual orientation, ability, physical appearance, body size, race, ethnicity, age, religion, socioeconomic status, caste, creed, political affiliation, or preferred programming languages. Our events are intended to inspire women to excel in technology careers, and anyone who is here for that purpose is welcome. We do not tolerate harassment of members in any form, and our code of conduct applies to all Women Who Code events and online communities. And then you can read the full version and access our incident report form at womenwhocode.com/code of conduct. These are some of our upcoming events. So we have our WWCode Dev Summit mobile and web happening next Wednesday, May 24th, beginning at 9 a.m. And we have these convenient QR codes so you can scan and register to attend that event. We also have our WWCode Dev Summit, BlockDataPy, that's coming up on July 27th, beginning at 9 a.m. Both of these events are virtual, hosted on Hopin. And this presentation will help you actually submit for our CFP, which is currently open for BlockDataPy. Oh, I'm sorry. So today's goals is understand why you should consider becoming a conference speaker. I'm sorry, I'm having trouble progressing the slides a little bit. Learn tips and considerations when developing a proposal idea or a talk title. Learn tips and best practices for developing your proposal description. And learn more about submitting to the upcoming Women Who Code Dev Summit, BlockDataPy. So please share in the chat why you're interested in becoming a conference speaker, or if you have experience, what propelled you to submit a proposal in the past. All right, you can continue sharing why you're interested in becoming a conference speaker, and I'm going to go ahead and progress to the next slide. Let's see. Expanding my skills to share ideas, more confident in speaking, giving back to the community, networking. These are all really great reasons to apply to speak at a conference, and we will highlight these further. Becoming a speaker is a great way to challenge yourself, to develop new skills like teaching, public speaking, and proposal writing. Build your portfolio and create a foundation as a thought leader in tech to elevate your professional presence in the industry. Network with other technology professionals for exposure to more opportunities. And support other technologists and Women Who Code mission. You can also be a change maker and continue the important conversations. So let's talk more about finding speaking opportunities. So this is some suggestions on how you can actually find these opportunities. There are many available in the tech community, especially through Women Who Code. So asking your manager, your team lead, mentor, if there's any opportunities for you to speak, teach, or mentor. You can Google key phrases such as call for proposals on tech conferences or events, or apply to speak tech conferences. I'm sorry. Like my first time presenting, apparently. So joining a Women Who Code network and volunteering to speak is another great way. And responding to Women Who Code call for proposals for major events. So we have several events per quarter, and we always put out a call for proposals. And so if you are a member of the Women Who Code community and you're subscribed to our code review or our Career Nav newsletters, then you will receive these opportunities directly in your email. So now let's talk about coming up with a talk proposal idea and the considerations that you could have to submit. So first, I know that it's a big step, a big leap to be a public speaker and submit your proposal, and maybe you're experiencing some imposter syndrome. So let's talk about overcoming that. So it is a myth that you have to be an industry expert or experienced speaker to present at a conference. You have knowledge, opinions, and experiences that could benefit your community and other technologists. Many technologists have made their speaking debut at Women Who Code events, including global conferences with thousands of attendees. I personally know people who have submitted their proposal and have been a first-time speaker at our events and have gone on to speak at Google I/O or DroidCon Berlin as keynote speakers. And so this is a really great step to doing something if that's what you're considering as a future quest. So let's understand what is a talk proposal. A talk proposal is your opportunity to offer to share your experience or expertise at an event or conference. Your talk proposal will include a talk title and description, as well as any other information the application requests, such as a headshot, a bio, or more details about your proposal, such as the focus or the technical or career category. And then also you will likely encounter the phrase CFP, and that stands for call for proposals, which is a call for your talk proposal. So you can also consider talks that you've already given that you could base your proposal on. Have you given a talk or workshop or a training session at work or school? Have you taught a colleague, a friend, a mentee something technical or career related? Or have you ever published a blog or article, either formally or informally, such as LinkedIn or on Medium in regards to a technical or career topic? You could also consider experiences that are unique to you that you could use to base your proposal on. So have you ever completed training or learning that you would now like to pass on to someone else? Have you accomplished something personal that has supported your career in tech that could be a good example or inspiration for others? Have you accomplished something professional, such as landed your dream job, deployed your first app, developed a new tool that you could share on the how with others? Do you have an interesting perspective or opinion on current industry trends? These are all really great things to consider for writing and submitting your proposal. You could also consider what you want to achieve by your talk. Explain a concept relevant to the audience they could benefit from knowing either personally or professionally. You could show or demonstrate a new technology or technique through live examples. You could give the audience an opportunity to try hands-on or to learn by doing something. You can inspire the audience to think differently. And you can also challenge the audience to question the status quo through your diverse opinion. You can also engage the audience in a discussion to connect them. Something also to consider when submitting a talk proposal is considering the audience for your talk. So every organization is different and the demographic of their community can also be different. So that could be, beginner level, people working in tech, or mid to senior level career folks in tech as well. So what level of learner is your talk for? That is definitely something to consider as you're writing this proposal. What demographics will make up your audience? What subjects interest this audience the most? And what don't they know that you can teach them? And why do they need to know this now? And how will it benefit them? So this is a really good opportunity to do research on the event that you're writing the proposal for, just to see what technical or career related topics that they're looking for, what the member base is made up of the community that you're trying to reach. So all of these questions are really great to consider in the process of writing your proposal. Also considering your talk format. So I'm just going to break down some different talk formats that are commonly accepted through CFPs. Explain a concept relevant to the audience that they could benefit from knowing either personally or professionally. So this could be a shorter talk, which is commonly known as a lightning talk. It's usually around 15 to 20 minutes, and it's giving a gist of what this topic is and does not go into much detail. You can show or demonstrate a new technology or technique through live examples. And this is a better fit for a longer or a full-length talk. Typically at Women Who Code conferences, our full-length talk is about 35 minutes. You can give the audience an opportunity to try or learn by doing something. And this is really great for workshops. Again, this is around 50 minutes to an hour where you're actually demonstrating and showing the audience and giving them an opportunity to try by viewing what you are doing. Inspire or challenge the audience to think differently. So this is really great for a keynote talk or a panel discussion. And then you can also engage the audience in a discussion and also connect with them further by a panel or a networking session. Also give consideration to the conference CFP. Pay attention to all the guidelines and follow instructions fully. And this includes topic requests. So don't waste your time submitting an irrelevant topic to the event. So if the call for proposals is looking for mobile or web development, then I would save if you are, more interested in Python or data science or blockchain, then that would not be the conference to apply the mobile web development topics to. Also consider your audience. Don't waste time submitting a topic that doesn't fit the audience. Proposal lengths and requirements. So be sure your proposal is interesting, accurate, and free of errors. Also make sure to include your speaker bio and headshot. That way that you can build your professional presence. A lot of times they are included in promotions leading up to the event as well as the conference website so that you can be highlighted as a speaker. Also be sure that your bio is concise, highlighting achievements on why you're an expert in this area. And the name is as you would like it to appear, and your headshot is professional and high quality. Again, a lot of times at conferences, your headshot in your bio is included in the promotional materials leading up to the event, as well as highlighting you on different social media platforms. And so this area is very important to consider. And then we're just going to cover some things to avoid. So repetitive ideas and talk proposals. So what is something to consider, a question to ask yourself is, what is something new you are bringing to this audience? Also avoid borrowed content. So your idea and your proposal should be unique to you. Also avoid short and undeveloped descriptions that don't do the following. Explain what your talk will be about, or explain what the audience will learn. Also, poorly written descriptions. So these include descriptions that are full of errors, they're not edited, or they might be too long, they're not developed and may be too short. And then also something to help prevent some of these things that you should avoid is actually having a peer review. So something to avoid would be submitting without a peer review. This helps ensure that your talk is interesting, accurate, and free of errors. All right, so now I'm going to pass it over to Manda, who is our program communications manager. She also helps revise a lot of talk proposals and titles, including their descriptions, as well as speaker bios. So she's actually an expert in this area, and she has a lot of great resources and tips to help you submit your talk proposals. Over to you, Manda.
Thanks, Mackenzie. And Mackenzie will advance the slides for me. Appreciate your time. As Mackenzie pointed out, you already have a lot of potential for ideas that you could submit based on other experiences that you have and other knowledge that you have. But having a good idea isn't enough for a proposal for a CFP. We actually do need to have it be written well as well. So that's the sort of, I'm going to walk you through some best practices and some good examples so that you could get started. So this is not a hands-on workshop, as in we aren't going to work on writing a proposal talk together. However, I wanted to let you know that we do have a lot of resources for you to do that. I'm going to give you some best tips and practices, some things I look for when I'm revising and editing our CFP proposals for our events. But you have all of these resources available to you if you did want a little more guidance step-by-step to writing your talk. So you can get inspiration from past Women Who Code sessions on our YouTube channel to see what technologists are interested in hearing about, and also what kinds of things people are presenting on, how their formats play out, what their slide decks look like. You can get a lot of inspiration there. You can learn more on the Women Who Code CFP resources page. So on this page, there actually are some step-by-step workshops. Stephanie's in the audience. She's put on a really beautiful workshop that guides you through step-by-step brainstorming and revising a talk proposal. So if you want a little more hands-on guidance, you can look to that page. And we also have some other tips and tricks there as well. You can join the Women Who Code Slack for support. So if you want to run ideas past people, lean on the community to brainstorm concepts, or just have anybody take a look at your proposal, I would really recommend taking a look at our Slack community. It's a really supportive community if you're not already a member. And also you can reach out to past Women Who Code speakers, or network with members of our community via LinkedIn. Our community is very generous, and we love helping diverse technologists rise and succeed. So if you are stuck on an idea, or you're not sure if it's a good candidate for a talk proposal, I'd really recommend leaning on your network to getting more support there as well. I think that we're set. Mackenzie? Great. So again, having a good idea isn't enough. Unfortunately, you also have to write your talk title and your proposal well. So it's going to be in two parts. We're going to look at how to do a talk title first. So you've decided, I have something to say, right? That I know what I want to accomplish with my talk. I know who the audience for my talk is. I know the best format for my talk. I know it's going to be a good fit for a conference or an event, and I know that I can follow submission guidelines. So now I need to make the title for my talk. So we'll do that first. So first impressions really matter. Your talk title is the very first thing that a CFP reviewer is going to see. And they're going to see this beautiful little kernel that's going to summarize your talk and what it's going to do for the attendees. And that's the very first thing that you're going to see. So it actually does take a lot of work. I would say revising the talk titles is one of the main things I do when I do my revisions. For a lot of reasons. And we're going to go over some of the best practices. And these are some of the things that I look for, and some of the tips that we would give you. So the goal of your talk title is to use exciting language to share what your talk is about, using only a few words, but it does a lot of work, even though it's only a little bit of language. So let's take a look at what else it can do. We'll go to the next slide. So your talk title should be 5 to 10 words in length, and that's just sort of an arbitrary value that I set, but it's not too long to fit on a promotion graphic, but it's long enough that it tells the audience what the talk will be about. It clearly needs to describe what your talk will discuss or teach, and not simply state a topic plainly, right? So for example, me just saying machine learning. Machine learning is a declaration of a topic. It's not a talk title. It needs to gesture toward who the audience is, right? What learning level maybe it's for, and what will happen during the talk. So then an attendee or a CFP reviewer will know what they're going to get when they come. So it needs to be accurate and free of errors, and bonus points if it's fun and playful or clever. And before we advance, I want to stress why your proposal needs to be accurate and free of errors. And what I mean is that the information is correct. You're correctly formatting industry terms like Android, for example, has a capital A when used in the Google ecosystem, and capital A, not a little a, right? Accurate, free of errors. And that's for two reasons. One, because you want your proposal to be professional, and you want it to be a representation of it's a professional document that you're submitting, right, for consideration. But secondly, Women Who Code has an editorial process to ensure that the talk descriptions are clean, that they don't have typos in it, but not all conferences do. And it's possible that what you'll see is if you're not taking the time to run it through a grammar check, have someone look at it, a spell check, that they might publish, if it's accepted, your presentation talk with errors and typos in it. And that's obviously a reflection on you and the event as well. So just take the time, make sure it's nice and clean and looks good. So some examples of successful talk titles. So we have Let's Get Fired Up, Getting Started with Firebase Firestore. I love this title because it has the play on the fire language. I also know the learning level. Looking at this for a getting started, who would you say the learning level is if it's a getting started talk, for example? First responses. A beginner, exactly. You already know who the audience is for, right? And we also know probably what's going to happen in the talk is that I'm going to get some fundamentals for Firebase Firestore. When I leave this presentation, I'm probably going to have a foundation for this technology, right? And that's what I know just from reading the talk title. The making of a mentor, elevate your connections and career with others by helping others. Here, I know this is probably going to be an inspiration talk, and I know I'm going to get some actionable tips to probably learn how to become a mentor and how that's going to benefit my career. I already know that. So I'm guessing this is probably a workshop or a keynote. I know it's a keynote, right? Because it's from one of our events, but I know that from looking at this. Secure but accessible, building sites your users can actually use. Great title. And the reasons are because I know it's about security. I know it's about accessibility. I know the platform. It's for people who build websites. And I know that it's helping them solve a problem, right? The problem is that they need to build secure websites, but they also need to be user-friendly. Just from these few words, I know what I'm going to be able to do when I leave this presentation. 13 tips to write code like a Swiftie, right? So I'm going to get some really actionable tips that I can probably apply today. In fact, 13 of them, which is pretty cool. How to get out of tutorial hell and start building something. This is actually a talk that's coming up in our upcoming Mobile and Dev Summit. And this is a good title because it's kind of fun. It's kind of sounds kind of controversial, but also you could apply to you. If you're a person who's constantly learning and never building on your own, I know when I leave this presentation, I'm going to have some tips and inspirations that I can start making things, which is pretty neat. Okay, so we have some tips too. So something you can do is start with a verb for if you're trying to like, how do I start my talk title? So starting with a verb can be really helpful. And I would lean on what is you want them to be able to do when they leave your talk. When they leave my talk, I want them to be able to improve, mitigate, develop, grow, instigate, whatever it is. I want them to be able to do something when they leave my talk. And you can use that verb as the inspiration to start your title. So here we have improving communication for the introverted engineer, mitigating biased algorithms in the real world, developing emotionally intelligent teams in tech. All of these tell me who it's for, what they will gain when they leave your presentation. You can tell it in two parts. So something kind of cool is that you can break it up in two parts. And the first part of your talk title is going to tell them, here's generally what it's about. But let me explain it a little bit more with the second part, which can be a really good way to hone it in. So here, building more inclusive Android apps, animation and reduced movement. Let's say I just had building more inclusive Android apps. Not a bad title, but now I know what's going to happen in the talk. We're going to specifically talk about animations and reduced movement. Accessibility, Android apps, it's a really big topic. But this title tells me here's what will happen, right? Typesetting and CSS, using typography to enhance your design, building your career like a project manager's take. So in all of these, we have a really good idea of what's going to happen in the talk, and that's exactly what we want from a talk title. You can make it fun. So you can write creative talks, plays on words, and we see references to pop culture and song lyrics and all sorts of cool stuff. And I would just say one of the reasons we do pass on CFPs is because they have a fun title, but the title still doesn't do that job that it's supposed to do, which we now know the job is to tell you who it's for, what will happen in the talk, what it will cover. So these are pretty great in doing that. Fun with feature flags, make changes with the extra code, a crash course in SHH, digging ourselves out of code dev. All really fun titles, but we still know what they're going to be about. They're not clickbait, which is not what we want. We want a meaningful title, even if it's fun and playful. Make it actionable. So something you can do is give tips, tricks, do's, don'ts, mistakes to avoid. And we see this a lot. And these are all happen to be really, I tend to see these be really popular talks. People really like to come because people like to have an actionable thing that they can do. Think about how busy you are, and you're going to take an hour, 45 minutes, 30 minutes to come to a presentation talk, right? You want to be able to leave knowing something that you didn't know before, or be able to do something that you couldn't do before, right? That's really what you want from a good event. And the talk title should be able to attract you to a presentation so that you know that will happen for you. So here, what they don't tell you about tech interviews, do's and don'ts of professional networking, mistakes to avoid as an AI practitioner in the industry. Really clear to the point, what you will get if you come to this presentation, which is great. So I have a little exercise. So this is kind of a choose your own adventure. So I have these titles that I don't think are quite successful. So you can pick one and just comment or revise it, what you think, how you think it could be better. So we just have simply Python fundamentals is number one, career advice for women in tech is number two. This one, we have machine learning tools to help you finish your project without wasting more time so your boss will be impressed and promote you. We have keeping up with the Kardashians and don't make the same mistakes I did. You'd attend number four. Yeah, of course you would, Anna. So if you could pick one of these, what do you think that maybe one of these could be how they could be improved? And you could come off mute, I think is that an option, Mackenzie? No, not sorry. I did not tell you the truth just then. You can type in the chat. Put the fun in Python. Great, learn from my failures. So we're trying to improve these, friends. So knowing our best practices, the things that they're supposed to do. So lessons learned, don't make the same mistakes. Like getting started with Python, right? So we know it would be that, but we really want to make sure that the titles tell them what will happen, right? It needs a second part of the description. Exactly. Keeping up with the Kardashians is fun, but I don't know what's going to happen in the talk. How could we improve? Maybe number one, Python fundamentals, describe what makes mistakes they did. A crash course in beginner Python dev. Really great, Claudia. Yeah, making them more specific. Exactly. Machine learning tools that make your work more efficient, nice and concise. Create a new ceiling, 10 career mistakes I avoided. Perfect. You're naturals. I'm not worried at all about these titles that you're going to be writing. So this is exactly right. We want to make sure that the titles tell us what will happen, but aren't too vague that we don't know more what will happen, but not too long that they're telling us too much information. Okay, perfect. So now that we know how the best practices for writing a good title, we also need to write a good talk description. I know it seems like a lot of work, but I know we can do it. So let's keep going. All right, so we need to make good on our title. We've just taken all this time to write a really good title. So now we need to write a really good description to go with it, actually. So best practices here, you're going to write a few sentences only, right? That will describe for the audience member or the CFP reviewer what your talk will cover, who it's for, why they should come, and what they will learn. Remember, they're taking time to come to your presentation, and all they have is the description to know if it's worth their time. So we want to make sure that we're developing it positively. Okay, great. So these are sort of my tips. So your talk description should be 50 to 100 words, but do follow the CFP requirements. If they say it needs to be 40, it needs to be 40. Don't go over. If they say it needs to be 150 to 200, do that. I would say when I revise our talk descriptions for the Women Who Code events, if you look at them, they're all about 50 to 100 words. And I do that because that's about how long they need to be to all be sort of synced up and have the correct amount of information. They need to answer a so what. Why should someone learn or know this? And I would say this is the main thing I see missing from one of the main things I see missing from the talk descriptions that we see is it's kind of like, well, why, what problem or issue is your talk addressing? And we're going to look at an example of, and it's a little abstract, so we'll look at a couple of examples of what I mean by that, but help the audience understand, wow, this brand new technology just came out. If you come to my presentation talk, I will catch you up on it, right? Or here's a misconception in the tech industry. If you come to my talk, well, let's have a conversation about it and we can get set straight, right? You can help them understand what will your talk do for them? What problem, why now, so what? Clearly but concisely describe what your talk will cover, what the audience will know or be able to do after coming to your talk that they could not do or did not know before. This is the second biggest thing I would say I see missing from the talk descriptions that we get submitted for the Women Who Code CFPs is I don't know what's going to happen when they leave the talk. What will they have learned? What can they do now? And that's the one thing that I see, the main thing that I see missing. And that's really important, again, for them to be able to decide if they want to come to your talk or if it's a good match for our event. And again, as always, be accurate and free of errors. So this is your checklist. This is a kind of a summary if you want to screenshot this, but obviously we'll make this recording available as well. But just a real quick dirty checklist. Does my talk description clearly match my talk title? Truth telling, I see this a lot. The title doesn't match the talk description, so I end up having to rewrite one so they go together, which is a really interesting thing. So make sure that they go together. It's really important. Does the audience know what problem or issue I'm helping them solve? Did I cover the key topics I will discuss in my talk? It can not too long. We don't need to know every bullet point that you're going to talk about, but just the key things that you plan to cover. Do I gesture toward the learning level or audience for the talk? So again, does it seem like it's going to be for beginners? It's going to be a deep dive for advanced technologists. It's going to be for career seekers. Do I have an idea who will benefit from this talk? Does the audience know what they will learn or be able to do after coming to my talk? So the presentation saying, join this talk too. After this presentation, you will be able to, right? So that we know what they'll be able to do or what they'll know after. And does my talk follow formatting guidelines and is free of errors? This is a really good checklist. So we'll look at a couple examples here. And these are from the upcoming Dev Summit event that's next week that I've borrowed from the website. So is a dev bootcamp right for me? So dev bootcamps have become popular in recent years as a faster, more affordable path into tech. But how do I know if one is right for you? How do you know if one is right for you? Join Chris Ballinger, head of community at Codeco, a global online mobile dev learning platform that runs iOS and Android bootcamps. Discover the benefits of participating in a bootcamp, what really happens during a dev bootcamp, and what your career options are after completing a bootcamp. So kind of thinking about our checklist, can you share in the chat why do you think that this is a successful, or what do you think this is doing well? And I want to see everyone's messages here. Okay, great. The description gives context to the subject. The proposal is engaging. Yeah, what you'll get out of the talk is clear. That's exactly right. It sets the expectations. You know what you'll learn. That's exactly right. So we have some context saying like, dev bootcamps are a thing now. How can you pick if that's the right decision for you? Come to my talk and I will help you with that, right? The target group is super clear. It almost gives the structure of the talk. That's exactly right. We know what the talk is going to cover, but notice this isn't very long. It's maybe 50 words. So I just want to clarify, to cover all the things you need to cover, what it's about, who it's for, why they should care. You don't actually need that much space. You just need to take a little time writing it well. Exactly. And you can research the speaker in advance. Really great responses, everybody. We can go to the next example. So just one more example to go over together. Building more inclusive Android apps, animation and reduced movement. This is this title that we just saw. Not all users enjoy animations. Different types of movement and animations can be distracting or cause symptoms such as nausea or dizziness. Many users survive in our animated digital world by modifying the operating system level setting to reduce animations. Join the session for a discussion on creating inclusive native Android apps to gain an understanding of potential problems that animations might cause for some users, and learn how to develop more inclusively and respect the animation setting in native Android apps. What do we like about this title? Or and description, the title and/or description. Yeah, the issue is super clear. Explains the problem, and then join the session for a solution. Yeah, if you didn't know anything about, I personally, before I edited this, I didn't know this was something. So you're exactly right. It helps illuminate a topic. And I think this one is similar to the other one where it reads really well. Again, I know the problem and I know what the solution will be covered. I know the information I'm going to walk away with. Good. So I love that your responses, because your responses are gesturing toward the main thing again that we see when we get presentation CFPs. We tend to decline CFPs if they don't tell us what's going to happen and what the person will learn, again, why someone should care. So these are really two good examples. And I love that you're identifying that both of these presentations do that. All right, let me see here. I noticed in each of these, I just see a question. I know we're gonna do questions at the end, but I noticed in each of these that time, format, and venue is included on the slide. Oh, that's a really good question. No, these are screenshots off of our event schedule. So no, you don't need to include the time talk or anything in your description. You could say in this hands-on workshop, right? You could do something like that in this lightning talk. There's no reason you couldn't put in the format into your description. It's really up to you if you think that it reads well. Okay, great. All right, so that was, we're going to have a Q&A, but I just want to give you a little pep talk of encouragement. So again, we do have those resources to kind of step-by-step guide you through writing in the CFP resources page to guide you to writing your own proposal and talk description. These are just some of the things that I pay attention to when I'm editing and revising and we're accepting CFP talks for our own events. But I really want to encourage you to give it a try. Just starting is better than not starting, right? And so to just create your first talk proposal to submit can be a really great opportunity, at least to have something to iterate on, right? Make something, and then you'll have something to get feedback on and to submit to other presentation opportunities as well. So we have an upcoming opportunity actually. Mackenzie, great. So we have this Dev Summit coming up, BlockDataPy, that we mentioned, and you actually have a couple of weeks. So we don't have a lot of excuses. I think that everyone can get something together as an exercise. So I'm officially giving you homework to why not try. So we have until Sunday, June 4th to submit to the BlockDataPy Summit. And if blockchain, data science, or Python technologies aren't your stack, that's okay. We're also receiving career navigation talks for technologists, inspiration talks for technologists. And again, we receive hundreds of presentations, but we can only accept a couple of dozen, right? So the thing is to just go ahead and practice it. Go ahead and write your first title and talk description, and then you'll have something. And as Mackenzie showed in sort of like the Google opportunity, there was a screenshot of just there are dozens and dozens of conferences right now accepting proposals. We would love to see you at a Women Who Code event, but I think the first step is why not just go ahead and get something drafted, get something revised, get something ready, and then you can just submit and be on your way to becoming a conference proposal. So a speaker, excuse me. So to go ahead and look for a few things that we're looking for, Mackenzie, if you could advance. So again, we're looking for diverse speakers, right? Technologists just like you to share technical expertise. And again, even if blockchain, data science, and Python aren't your tech stacks for this event, that's okay. I would still look at the CFP resources and see if something's other ideas that we have written there speak to you that maybe you could develop a proposal for. We really love a first-time speaker, and we love experienced speakers too. So feel free to invite your friends to submit as well. That we have a really supportive process. I would say, hands down, it's one of the most supportive speaker processes that I've ever seen or worked with, even as a former speaker in different areas. And so you don't need to feel shy. A lot of people make their speaking debut at our events. And so I would say go for it. We're looking for proposals for lightning or full talks, workshops, and panels. Again, just really speaking to our audience to help the diverse women technologists on their journeys, right? In a variety of topics, as I said, blockchain, data science, Python. It could be tech career advice. It could be a work project that you finished. If maybe you just led a training session and you think it could be helpful. For example, I'm not a technologist, truth telling. I'm a word person. And I submitted a proposal for, we didn't have space on the mobile one, but maybe for BlockDataPy, to help people build their writing portfolios by learning how to submit to blogs. Or even right now, I'm giving a talk, right, on how to be a CFP speaker. And I'm not a tech person. So what I'm saying is that the table's really big. There's a seat there for you. So I would really considering looking at your experience, what you can offer to an audience, and specifically the Women Who Code membership, and see what you can give them, because right, we all rise, with each other by helping each other. And so I know that you've got something up here that you could turn into a proposal. So I just wanted to give you the QR one more time, but I know that Anna shared the link in the chat as well. And I think now we would like to take some questions. I think I saw some coming through. I don't know if Mackenzie, you want to come off mute now as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Manda. You provided so much insight as to someone who reviews a lot of our proposals. I did just see a question come through in the chat that seems pretty popular. It's, do we get feedback from Women in Code when our proposals aren't accepted? So like Manda said, we receive hundreds of proposals, and then the ones that are selected are also put into a review process, like a full editorial process. So unfortunately, our team, as of now, we don't have the bandwidth to provide feedback on every proposal that is not accepted, but we just encourage you to reapply. There's also several communities within Women in Code. So we have our 6 technical track communities. We also have Career Nav. That is a really great starting point to get feedback on your specific proposal. There are many people in the community that have spoke specifically at Women Who Code events. So that's a great place to drop in your title in the description and get direct feedback. So we have Gracia on the meeting today, who is our director of community. We also have Stephanie Rideout, who is our digital community specialist, who manages all of our technical tracks. And then we also have our program manager for career navigation, Anna Sher-Wilson, who is also on this meeting. They're all really great resources, but really anybody in the Women Who Code community who has given a conference talk or has helped others, develop their talks. They're really great resources for getting feedback on how you can improve. So that's the route that I would suggest. Because like I said, for our Connect conferences, we receive hundreds of proposals. And so giving feedback for each one, we would love to do that. But right now, we just don't have enough people on our team to support that aspect of accepting proposals. So if you are looking for direct feedback, peer review is great. Working directly with someone in the Women Who Code community. Let's see what other questions have come in. How to bid on proposals that get my proposal accepted, bid on contract and was honest on ability and competitor underbidded and then put in for changes when they could not meet scope of project. I'm not entirely sure about bidding on proposals. So our proposal process is a little bit different than the one you're describing. So I am unsure. Manda, if you wanted to read over that question and see if you're able to answer that better, but I will see if there are any other questions in the chat. It looks like Anna has also dropped the Slack link to join the communities where you can ask about your proposal and get more resources or feedback. Let's see.
I bid on a proposal. I get my proposal accepted. Bidded on contract and was honest ability better under the. Truth telling, Elaine, I would encourage you to ask your question differently. I don't quite know what you're asking. It seems a little out of the scope of what I can assist you here with the best practices. It's not quite clear to me that maybe you had, I think maybe we're confusing proposal here. This is, are you talking kind of like a business proposal, like if you could ask your question differently, maybe we could help you. So we can maybe look at some of the other questions while you draft it.
And then we also got a question, are talks ever presented pre-recorded? So we actually really prefer live talks for our virtual and obviously in-person events. And that's just because we have a very engaging community. We always provide an amount of time after the presentation for Q&A. And we notice that people have a lot of questions where they would like to engage with the speaker and learn more. So that's just the way we here at Women Who Code do that. I know that there are other organizations and events that do accept pre-recorded talks. Let's see here.
I think maybe to go back to Elaine's question, to clarify how our proposals are accepted, which might be different than the experience that you're having in this other forum, is that we have a CFP volunteer review committee made up of Women Who Code members who are volunteering to read. They are the technologists who would come to the event, right? And they also know what we're looking for, and they go through some training, and they go through every single presentation, and every presentation gets a lot of care, a lot of review, read by several people before it's selected. And so there's not really like a bidding process with the Women Who Code CFP proposal review. It's our community comes together and says, these are the talks that I think would be interesting to our members right now and that would make a great event. And that's how we proceed forward that way.
I see another question. Can you please share the slides for us? So this event actually is recorded, this entire presentation. It will be posted to our YouTube channel in the next coming weeks. So that's where you can view this slide deck. We'll see if we can go ahead and get a link that we can attach with that event description once it is published to YouTube. But that's where you can review all of these slides and take notes and take the screenshots that you need. So please subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/womenwhocode. And there you'll get all the notifications for any events that we record and publish. And so you'll be able to reference that there.
I see a question here from Melissa. Do we help with the speakers once they're chosen? Absolutely. You get a lot of help actually. So you submit your proposal and our team looks at it and might make recommendations as well. I do an editorial review where I help make sure that it has all of these really good features that we've just talked about. And you get a chance to review my edit, for example, so that I'll make some changes if it needs it. And then you'll have a chance to review. And then we have a lot of resources. We have speaker guides, we have practice sessions, we have a Slack group that's just for our speakers. We have a presentation slide deck. You'll get reminders, calendar invites. It couldn't be a more comprehensive, supportive process. So if you are kind of like, I've never spoken at an event, a Women Who Code event is a really good place to get started because step by step will help you through the process.
Great. And then I see another question. Do corporate conferences like Google or AWS conferences pay for giving talks? So there are some organizations that do offer payment for their speakers. Women Who Code is a nonprofit, and so we do offer speaker honorariums, but we also give the option where you can donate back to Women Who Code. So a lot of speakers are actually giving back to the community by speaking at our events and elevating their career. But there are definitely events that you can apply to and be reimbursed as a speaker. And then let's see. And then someone said, by when will one get to know if selected? So we usually have a deadline to apply, and then there's a period in time where our CFP review committee is reviewing all the talks and making selections. A lot of times we invite speakers on a rolling basis, but we do reach out to those who are not selected, and that's usually closer to the conference date. So I don't have a specific date for BlockDataPy. It's just dependent on how many CFPs we receive and how much time it takes for our reviewers to go through them all. But we definitely do follow up with everybody who submits a CFP proposal. And let's see. And also thank you, Stephanie, Gracia, Anna, for responding to folks' questions in the chat about how they can reach out to the community. There are so many different ways. We have our Slack channels. We have many virtual events. We have in-person events. We have our local networks as well as our online communities. So they're dropping the links there on how to do that. Let's see.
Having a look as well.
I don't see any other questions. Do you, Manda?
No, I don't think I do.
I just wanted to say thank you again for everybody who attended and was engaging in the chat and asking us questions. Like I said, this event is being recorded and it will be posted to our YouTube channel in the next coming weeks. And there are several opportunities to speak at a Women Who Code event. So that could be, you know, a network, a track event, or a major event, including like our summits or our Connect conferences. But hopefully this provided you some insight into what it's like to submit a CFP or a talk proposal. And also hopefully it gave you some confidence to, you know, want to get to the next step of writing that talk title and description and submitting a proposal. Any last thoughts or words, Amanda?
I just see a question about if there are a lot of people working in accessibility, and it just, I would say, yes, it just depends on the conference. Usually if the conference CFP page will have the kinds of topics that they're looking for. Women Who Code is interested in accessibility talks. In fact, our mobile and dev summit next week, we have 2 accessibility presentations it's an important topic for us as a nonprofit. So I would say whatever your area of interest is, check out the CFP website for whatever conference you're interested in applying, and they should have some recommendations for topics that they're accepting. But just some final words. No, I really encourage you. I think that everyone here has such unique experiences and knowledge, and I know for a fact that other people are interested in hearing it. And you think that's not true. You think it's not true, that you think that you have to be, you see the speakers on the stage and you're like, how did they get there? And how they got there is here. You took the exact first step, which is just to kind of go through your inventory of knowledge, experiences. What could you share with other people? And then just using some of these writing tips to put it together.
Great. Well, thank you everybody for joining. And we hopefully will get this recording up in the next couple of days. It should be up before the deadline of Sunday, June 4th to submit for BlockDataPy. Again, there's various ways to reach out to us through the community and other members in the community that have experienced public speaking or speaking at Women Who Code events. So there are tons of resources out there for you. But yeah, we encourage you to apply. You can scan this QR code to directly go to the application, and we hope to see you at our upcoming events. Thank you all.
Bye, everyone.